here, and it's 10 o'clock. We come to discuss our budget this morning. We have no agenda. We just kind of have a around the table conversation about the budget. But at this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Stedman if she will do the invocation.
Gracious Father, it's with humble respect, honor and praise, we graciously come to you this morning, Lord. Before petitioning you for anything, we just want to say thank you. God, we honor and we pray for the family of our brother George Floyd. We pray for comfort for all bereaved families. God, we ask that you be with us as we continue to go through this pandemic and the violence that's raging all over the world. All we ask is to be allowed to breathe. In Isaiah 9 and 6, God, you spoke of a prophecy of a future child who would bear the government on his shoulders and would be called with so many titles that they would be only attributed to you. For God so loved the world that he gave us his son, that he would come with the government on his shoulders. So you told me I could breathe. Then you came back in the New Testament and said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Again, you told me that I could breathe. So Lord, we ask you to be with us, our county manager. Lord, I add our bringing in that's hurt his leg, that he don't get nothing but good words when he go to the doctor this afternoon, because you know what kind of man he is. But we ask that as we continue to do the will of this government and for the citizens of Elson County, no matter what their background is, no matter what race, creed, gender, age, whatever, how all of us is yours, that you be with us. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Stedman, for that prayer this morning. We really needed this morning. Opening, what we'll do, we'll go around the table and let each commissioner give Mr. Monroe and Mr. Garner their concerns about the budget, and we'll discuss those items that that particular person is talking about, and we'll get feedback from our county manager. At this time, we'll start with, to my left, Commissioner Gateway.
Thank you very much, Chairman Streeter, and thanks staff for all the work, hard work that you've done on the budget. I've gone through every page of it and highlighted some areas. There's some questions that I'll get with staff after this meeting. I don't want to waste any time. But I do have still a question. Can we afford in this year's budget a 1.5% COLA increase that would cost, I guess, a total of $219,378?
Commissioner Gatewood, the issue with providing a COLA right now is that revenues are going to be, we can't predict revenues. Right now, with the sales tax issues going south, we don't know what the COVID-19 impact is going to look like on the economy. Even with the most recent jobs report saying that unemployment is going down, we still are in the same situation we were in March and in April in Anson County. In my best estimation, we cannot provide that COLA at that amount. Not at its base. No, sir.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Question, we're going to come back to you, but with the question that Mr. Gateway just asked, do any other commission have anything about that question they would like to ask?
I don't have anything additional. I was just wondering if there was anywhere, because he's kind of on the same track that I am. I was looking at the 1.5%, and I know we don't like to touch fund balance, and I know the contingency is not that much, but I was just wondering, is there anywhere lapse salaries, anything like that that may be in the budget that we don't think we're going to put in place, that money could be pulled from? That's the only comment I have. But I understand the situation we're in, and I just like to add that.
Okay, to that same question that he asked. If we had to raise taxes to do that, what would it cost?
Raising taxes, is approximately, that's just under a cent, 1.5 cents, excuse me, 1.5 cent to get $219,000 worth. Now that includes not just the COLA, but it's also the state mandated increase in retirement. So if you wanted just to look at that, we got to do that, that's the state's requirement right there. But if you go further to the, right-hand column, that's $127,000. That's the piece that is the COLA in and of itself without the automatic contribution. And so that would be slightly less than 1.5 cents. But we will include both of them together because we would do both of them at the same time. It's salaries, so that's how we would include it in there. So 1.5 cents. What I would say is that the issue with adding, you don't want to add ongoing expense to fund balance. So that's why I would say that's where you want to stay away from that.
Okay, any other?
Another comment on this topic, and that is, I think we've been approached by Wade Manufacturing to sell them back the 40.11 acres of land that we purchased from them, I think for slightly over $200,000. If this board decides to sell that land back, the funds that we paid them came out of general fund, so could that go toward perhaps a 1.5% COLA?
Again, what you're talking about, that's a one-time $200,000 if we're going to move that. And that's a decision that I haven't brought to the board yet. I want to do it in a closed session, but since it's out there now, that's a one-time expenditure, one-time revenue grab. Again, once you add it to COLA, as you add it to base, it continues to go on year after year after year. We're not talking about a one-time $200,000. We're talking about consecutive years of that. So if we were to do that, we're going to have to go find those dollars again, because otherwise we're going to not be able to pay those people. So one-time expenses should not be used, one-time revenue, excuse me, should not be used for ongoing expense. So that'd be where I stand on that, sir.
All right, continue, Mr. Gable.
Is now a time to address the Wade Manufacturing request, since it is out in the public?
Yeah.
All right. I have given that some thought, and I'm sure you have, but what is your recommendation on that, Mr. Monroe?
My recommendation is that we have to do everything by the book. We cannot sell, although we own that property free and clear. The issue has been in the community that when we purchased that property, it was purchased with the idea that we didn't build Agriculture Civic Center, it gets given back to Wade Manufacturing. However, that's not in the deed. That was an option to purchase. We made the option, we extended the option, we received the option, and then we purchased the property. In the deed itself, we own it free and clear. So we can sell that property back. It doesn't go automatically back to Wade Manufacturing. It means we have to do it by the book, meaning that anyone can purchase that property if we sell it to anyone. So the idea of sending it directly to Wade Manufacturing is we can't. We have to make the decision to sell it. And then whoever wants to buy it can. And if Wade Manufacturing is wanting to buy it, no problem. But we can't say directly that we're going to sell it to Commissioner Streeter, Commissioner Woodburn, or whomever. Even though that's what the intention was, to follow the rules that we have right now, we have to go by the book, and it will be a sale, not a sale to Wade Manufacturing.
Would it be up to the board to decide which sale they wanted to sell?
The amount? Yeah. Yes, you can. Go ahead. You have to be declared surplus, correct. And then, and there's other sale opportunities. You can go to auction as well. We have not fully vetted all the possibilities just yet. I've talked to the county attorney, and he's getting back to me about best methods to sell the property back, not to sell the property back. So my recommendation would be to sell the property. But my recommendation also would be to not sell it exclusively to one group.
My question still was, if Wade Mill offered $200,000 and Jarvis Woodburn, Commissioner Jarvis Woodburn offered $250 million. Do I have to sell it to Jarvis?
I think think we're obligated to have to sell it to this is taxpayer dollars at that point, and it's gonna go to the general fund. I think we're obligated to get the most value out of the property at any given time. So I would say we would have to sell it to the highest bidder, the highest offer.
I thought when we made that deal, we had to let them have it back if we didn't use it.
That was the gentleman's agreement that we
Yeah.
made with Wade Manufacturing at the time. It was sort of like a donation,
Yeah.
because they gave us a really good deal on that land. And the conversation was that if he did not build an agri-civic center there, that they would like the option of having it back and buying it back.
But evidently, when they wrote up the will, the deed, they didn't write it like that. So we dropped the ball there by not reading behind them or reading it.
Well,
Legally.
maybe our attorney should have advised us,
Yeah.
well, our attorney, he was in on this, wasn't he?
I'm sorry?
Was the attorney not in on it?
Oh, sure, absolutely, Attorney Bauer,
So.
as I recall.
I guess
But now-
one other thing too, I believe, it initially started out, like Commissioner Gatewood said, it was more or less a gentleman's agreement. They made the land available, and as long as we built the Agri-Civic Center, that was Wade Mill, not necessarily a donation, we'd have to pay for the land at that time, but as time went on, we ended up, like the county manager said, we actually ended up purchasing the land. And I think that's when everything kinda changed, so to speak, for lack of a better term, if I remember right. And I believe that's why the deed's written the way it's written, because we just basically outright bought it. And at that particular time, we were still trying to decide whether or not the Agri-Civic Center would actually be built.
So legally, we are bound by the deed, am I correct?
As I understand it, yes, ma'am.
But I think back to the chairman's question, it wouldn't look good, but basically the land goes up for sale, goes on the market for sale as surplus property from the county. And once all the bids are in, like I said, it wouldn't look good on the board, but we could decide to send it to somebody less than the highest bidder. 'Cause
It was a gentleman agreement. I personally wouldn't feel bad about it. If I had agreed to something with you and we shake hands that's what we wanted. I don't know.
Well, the intent, again, I'll take that into consideration of 100%. But I haven't done enough work on this with the county attorney to provide you the best recommendation. So if that is the will of the board to try the best to get it back to Wade Manufacturing, then that's the solution that we'll try to move everything toward.
Excellent.
I think that's the direction we probably need to take, and the only thing I would say that could change that is Wade Mill decided, okay, let the highest bidder have it if they happen not to be it. But other than that, I think that's the direction we should go, is try to get it back in their hands.
Alright, well, and I'll give you all the pros and cons to doing that, and I'll let you, hopefully by the end of the month, have a recommendation to move forward in that regard.
With times like they are, Wade Mill may not want the property back.
That's why I made that comment. Matter of fact, I don't know if it would be out of order, I just thought about this, is to actually, at the point in time that we decide we wanna put it up for sale, is to have a conversation with them prior to putting it on the market, so that they are aware of it. Because of the fact they were so willing to work with us initially up front. Just tell them, explain to them the situation that we're in, and this is what we plan to do, so that they can decide which way they wanna go.
Oh, now they have a copy of the deed too, am I correct?
I'm pretty sure they do,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
One thing I would suggest as we do this research, and that is go back to the minutes in 2014. I believe we executed the purchase in January of 2014, and there were discussions prior to then. And let's see if there is something in the minutes that would help us. But I also think in final analysis, if this board decided to sell the property back to Wade Manufacturing, we certainly would have that option, and that's something I would like for the county manager to address with the attorney as well. Okay? Water rates. At the last meeting, last week, I suggested we hold rates flat, given the current economic climate and the climate that Mr. Monroe just explained to us. We don't know how long this pandemic is going to last. We've got a lot of seniors that are fearful not only of their health, but also the economy and how it's gonna affect them down the road. I just think it behooves this board to seriously consider holding our rates flat 12 months to see how this thing shakes out. What would that do to our fund balance and our water department operations, Mr. Monroe?
The way the water utility works is cash in, cash out. It's a fee for service function. Our current net position as we currently stand, so that's what the utility fund uses. Instead of fund balance, they call it net position. We're currently operating at a depreciating, a negative net position. We lose net position every year. Why? Because capital is taken into account. It's not just dollars. It's the actual capital asset. The pumps, the pipes, everything that makes the water and wastewater systems work depreciates every year. We have not been putting away enough money by having these low rates to replace the capital, the pipes, the pumps, and everything that goes on to make the utility work. So right now, our net position, to your question about fund balance, is called net position in utilities, is depreciating every year. We lose more and more every year because our capital loses value every year. And if we don't have a high enough rate structure, we can't replace it. So the idea of raising the rates, not exorbitantly, but just 8%, again, to the lowest, to the seniors that you're talking about. Usually those are using 2,000 gallons, that's the lowest tier that we have. We're looking at $1 increase for each one of these in water and wastewater. And if that's the case, then that goes a long way to us being able to save money to replace the capital down the road. If we're not planning for capital replacement, then we're planning on borrowed time in regards to a water and wastewater utility. The state or somebody else will have to come in to ultimately change the way we do things if we don't have enough money to replace the capital. Because water quality issues are going to be an issue real soon if we don't have the capital funding to take care of those things. So that's the request that's been made, and we have a gradual, I don't know if you remember seeing this over the last several months ago, there was, and I can show you this as well. These things, this is the capital CIP, the 10-year CIP, which shows us over the next 10 years what needs to take place, what pieces of capital we need to purchase to keep the water system clean and quality controlled well. Excuse me, I'm speaking improperly with this mask.
You're fine.
But what needs to take place is that over the next 10 years, we're going to have steady and gradual increases, because for so long, we've given our taxpayers, our citizens in Anson County, a great deal. But unfortunately, you have to pay for water at some point, and clean water. So I understand the concern. I'm also saying for $1 extra per month for the lowest tier users, it might be worth the investment. So I understand your concern. It will not help our net position. To your original question, our net position continues to decrease, and by not raising it, we will continue to decrease even more. Richmond County no longer is a customer of ours, which was the second largest water user for us, and that was hundreds of thousands of dollars a year that's gone. We're not getting that back. This 8% increase in water, at least, it will hopefully replace that. That's it. At best, we're staying afloat to what we were, basically. If we don't do that, we're looking at a minus several $100,000 in net position, just off the cash piece, not to include the depreciation on the capital. So, things are looking downward.
We received a letter, at least I received a letter from Wadesboro Town Council and the mayor, and they were suggesting that an increase that approached 10%, they thought it was a little high in current economic climate. Is there a middle ground where we go up, say, 5% as opposed to 8% or whatever the figure is?
The letter that was written was in regards to the sewer rate, 13%, and it said anything exceeding or approaching or exceeding, and they were in regards to the 13% for wastewater. So wastewater looks to be, again, for the same situation that water is in, the same capital situation. We're losing annually in regards to that viability of that system. Their concern is legitimate. However, I have several things that I would like to point out to them, to you all. In wastewater, across the board for the utility for the town of Waynesboro, we're talking about, again, the lowest tier. This is the lowest tier, so I'm not putting everything on equal. It's $1.69 to go up from 2,000 gallons of wastewater usage. Our fees are $13. Our fees are $13. Their base level for sewer is $31. 31. They've already exceeded because they include their fees incorporate that depreciation that we haven't been doing for years. That's why they're so high. And what they're gonna, I don't know, but I would imagine that they want to pass that on to the citizen, to the user. The question is, do they have to? I don't know. But we have not been able to do what we need to do in keeping our wastewater system viable. The town of Waynesboro has. $31 versus $13 is a significant difference. And you notice that if you live in the city and if you live in the county. And so, in order for us to keep our system viable, I'm asking that we move up a little. And the town of Waynesboro will unfortunately have a significant, they're our biggest sewer customer. They are. I would think that we want to be consistent across the board in what we provide in our increased recommendation. So is there an option for less than 13%? Yes, but I don't want to go much lower than that if at all possible, because it seems that we've not been doing what we need to do to keep the system viable. So if there was a recommendation, I'd say no lower than 8%, consistent with the water.
Okay, I have one question about one of his questions. The water rates. The only thing I would like to say, I want our system to be in the position where we don't have to buy water from another source. You know, because I don't, right now we can sell water to Union County. But I think, like you said, if we're not careful, we may be buying water from them.
Correct.
And then we would have to, our citizen probably would have to pay a higher rate, a much higher rate.
We will pay a much higher rate if we lose control of the system. No doubt about it. At least 3.
And I agree with Mr. Gabriel. I know there's these senior citizens that, $13 not much to Miss Studevant, but, but it's other people's that $13, that really would hurt them. But at the same time, we need to maintain our system.
Yeah, I had more concern about the sewer rates than I did the water rate. I didn't really see an issue with the water rates. And if it would work, I think, do the same thing we're doing with water, do 8% for sewer for this year. And then maybe, next year, somewhere in the near future, we can do different.
Mr. Woodburn, I think that's an excellent idea.
But if we do,
Your suggestions.
if we do that, is that gonna put a bigger burden on it next year?
It probably will, but I think right now we're just trying to give people some relief because of the current situation. And yeah, we'll have to take that into consideration when we're able to do it. And but it'll have to be done. I mean, we can't get around that. We can't not do it forever. But under the circumstances, maybe we do what we can to give as much relief as we can now, and then later on we do whatever we have to do. Just make sure we communicate it properly.
Now, when you say do ever what we need to do, and that's a much bigger increase.
Well, then I'm looking at, instead of 13% that he's recommending this year, maybe it's 15% or 16%, something like that. Not just, not doubling it or nothing like that, no.
I know Morgan is having a hard time right now, but I would rather put a little bit on them than, cause I'm sure they're gonna pass it along to those people that, are their sewer customers. But
To your point, Mr. Woodburn, if we want to keep on schedule, if we were to take a decrease now, then it would make sense that we have to go up a little bit more than what we have put into this plan. next year's supposed to be 8%, and if we were to do that, then I imagine we'd go the inverse, and we go 13% next year, 8% this year, or vice versa. But the idea is that we have to stay on schedule, and we have to put money away, because if we don't do it, it will become the property of someone else's, and we have no control. If we want to value control, we have to do the things to keep control in our hand.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I agree with that, I don't have an issue with that. I'd be much more open to 13% next year than this year.
Likewise, this year, I mean, there's some people that are seriously concerned. Maybe no one around this table is concerned, but we have a lot of citizens that are afraid of the future from an economic standpoint as well as a health standpoint. And I just would like for us to at least acknowledge that in our budgetary decisions that we make.
Mr.
Mr. Gates?
Well, I finished my round one, I'll come back.
Round one.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
this question, we're gonna answer, everybody gonna, if he, we gonna, just to
Wait a
that
minute.
issue, that question.
My question is, Mr. Gates, when you say round one, how many rounds did you have? Did they two? Round one.
Mr. Irvin,
No.
with all due respect,
Yeah,
you know, we could, if I need to leave, I will excuse myself, and we still have a quorum, we can continue the discussion.
sure.
Yes, but I don't plan to leave, I wanna give quality time to this because it's very important.
Anything about sewer?
No.
Mr. Sally?
Yeah. I've had a lot on me the last 2 weeks, and I really haven't studied this like I should, but I have faith in our county manager and our department heads that we'll have the right thing.
I kinda agree. Hired him as our manager, and he hired the department heads, and, I kinda think, you know, I hate to do it, but on this one, I believe I would have to go along with staff. Go ahead, Mr.
Oh, that's what you were asking, what do we agree with?
Yeah,
Now,
about, yeah.
I do too. I don't believe in patching. If we, and I know, and I love, my seniors, I love being in the community with them, but if we keep patching, we hurting them more than we help them.
Excuse me, when you say patch it, what do you mean?
Like, okay, we have, since Mr. Monroe being here and Carrie, I've learned quite a few things that, we were letting go, or wasn't doing correctly. So this with the money, the water, the sewage and everything, keeping it at a certain level when others around us is paying more or taking care of the water lines, the pipelines, purchasing the stuff, and we are just patching it up, instead of repairing it the way it's supposed to been done, to hold the rates down. Yeah, for years, we only paid like $10 a month for water, or $12 a month for water, whatever. At some point in time, we're gonna have to go up, don't you agree?
At some point in time, very definitely. I mean, we have to maintain the system, and the only way we can maintain the system is by periodic rate changes.
Yeah.
And it goes up and it doesn't go down.
Cause the pipes is not gonna get cheaper, or whatever, and doing it the way it's supposed to be done is not gonna get cheaper. So, I mean, if.
My only point, I have no problem with the rate increase, not at all. It's just the year and the economic climate that we find ourselves in.
But I still would have to agree with staff, because I would rather for Hampton County to own that system down at Hollywood Road than for some utility company out of New York to come in and buy it, and then they gonna charge what it takes to operate it and make a profit.
And then we have no say so.
We'll have no say so. And I think, you know, we have been in
what's gonna be the excuse? Not guaranteed.
The only other thing I have, and that is, we talked about this at the last meeting, DSS has made a request for 3 income maintenance workers. And I have the physical personnel request form in front of me. And the salary per person, $31,558. The state and the feds will reimburse $23,669. So the net county cost for the position, for base salary, $7,890 per position. Is that correct, Mr. Monroe and Kerry?
I don't have that request right there in front of me, so it sounds familiar.
So we get a position for $7,890 a year, and they're asking for 3. And I think as I look around this room, I'm the only person that has worked as a social worker at DSS. And I remember the last downturn, 2007, 2008. And I know how the workload can increase. And in current climate, it's increased significantly. Our head count at DSS has remained flat for the last 15 years, basically. And they really need these 3 positions, if at all possible, so I'll leave it there.
Anybody else have questions, comments on that?
That's one, I mean, that we're getting communication from the county manager, positions are being added. Just 2 was added here in the last few weeks. I don't know, I'm trying to remember what they were.
The only
Maybe they were replacement positions, I'm not sure.
What I've recommended for the budget was 1 network administrator because of the IT situation.
Okay.
And the only other things that were taking place, again, was in the middle of the year when we moved to get our audits in place.
Right.
We came to you in December to increase our position from a finance technician to assistant finance director, which we've hired. And then in order to keep a long-term employee with the county to not lose a job, we created the HR tech position, and that person applied for it and happened to get it. So those are the things that's taken place throughout the year. There's been no other additions of personnel.
So these are replacements that you're sending communications out on. I've seen 2 for DSS, so these are replacement positions.
I've not done anything at DSS. We have not moved forward in DSS positions.
That's been a bunch of vacancies.
I'm sorry.
I think, Commissioner Woodburn, are you referring to the notice that we get from Human Resources about openings?
Yes.
Those are replacement positions, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
They're okay.
there are positions that have been vacated and we're trying to fill.
Okay.
We're not adding new positions to the organization. Those are just people who left the organization.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Sorry.
y'all are on the group email.
Right,
So
okay,
That's why you're
okay.
seeing.
Okay. Sorry, I apologize.
Sorry.
From being on that board, over at DSS, I know the workload is heavy. I wouldn't go along with 3, but could we get 1 of them?
How many did the sheriff ask for?
Sheriff asked for 12 positions.
How many, okay, I'm sorry.
No, asked for 12 positions, 4 in the jail, 4 in his office directly, and 4 telecommunicators.
What other department heads asked for new positions too?
We had that in the book.
Yeah, I just
Emergency-
wanna,
Emergency services asked
I know
for,
the answers.
emergency services asked for 5,
Mhm.
and that was, for 2 basic EMTs, 2 paramedics, and a supervisor, adding for basically a whole new shift. Public health asked for a processing assistant. We have the network administrator for IT. We have veteran services officer. We have a activity director for elderly services,
Mhm.
and the library asked for an assistant. On top of, there were 2 more positions asked by DSS. There was a service program administrator, as well as the income maintenance administrator. For those 3 positions, there would have been a supervisor for those 3 positions as well. So a total of 5 for DSS were requested. So we had a total of 27 positions that were requested this year. And there's need across the board, and I don't discount that need, so. boards will, again, and I will have to take a look at the numbers to make sure, that there is a reimbursement structure, but I'm not so sure about what that looks like, and I'm not sure how it's administered. Again, ongoing costs in a situation in which we're dealing with some tough times ahead, I think sometimes maybe, better procedures may work instead of more people. I think more people sometimes is not the answer all the time.
And the reason I asked that question, when we met out at the airport and we talked and we put in order what we wanted to see, the sheriff department, if I voted for, to hire anybody in this time we're in, it would be for law enforcement. Because I know for a fact that, sometimes they run short, especially, doubling up, doing different things, and them guys. We are in a position now that I don't see us, I see doing more training than hiring people over there. And I totally respect what those girls do. Over there and everything. But law enforcement, if we decide, and I don't wanna even vote on putting anybody over there now,
No.
Of the salary, but that's where my vote would be. It wouldn't be, to add on over there, a trainer.
I hear that, and I understand that. Again, we only have one position, request, and again, those are not new dollars. The IT consultant, that we worked with before for years, we're taking those
Yeah.
dollars that we were spending outwardly and reinvesting those dollars inwardly. So those are not new dollars. We're not seeking out, tax rate increase. We're doing nothing. Those are just redeployment of old monies, because we're gonna hopefully get a better result.
Ms. Monroe, I don't wanna belabor the point, but it just came to my mind. If these three positions that are critically needed at social services is a direct result of the virus and the economy that we have as a result of the virus, is it possible that we could hire contract employees and use some of our CARES Act funding to pay for them?
Would that be a temporary position?
It would be a contract position, say that would last for 6 months,
Okay.
starting July 1 and end in December 31st. Now, if we haven't received it, we're slated to receive $647,744 in CARES Act funding.
Can the CARES Act money be used for that, Mr. Monroe? I know what you're saying, I looked over it, but.
It can be used for, personnel expenses that come directly related to the COVID-19 pandemic. The question would be, how directly do we make that connection? And I'll say quite honestly, there is some work that's been done, but there's also the fact that we lost a big employer here in the county, and we don't know if that was before or after with the COVID-19. Some of those people have found other jobs. We've had so far, you keep stats on it every day, 70 some odd, confirmed cases, 15 of those active.
As of yesterday afternoon, 78
Yep.
cases.
But 15 are active, and those are things going back to March. So those cases are going to keep going up because they're not taking away the cases that already have been out processed. So we're currently at about 15 active cases in the county. And I understand the impact on the economy and what it has been, but things are opening back up. My concern is investing in something that we are uncertain in, and it's gonna sound not as empathetic potentially, but in the times like this, we might have to do more with less. We might have to continue to work a little bit harder, train, and provide opportunities for those individuals. Those care funds, we're talking about getting some technology for the staff. Ms. Lula Jackson at DSS requested IT laptops so that they can have their laptops at home and with them doing work when they can. being more flexible with them, so make sure that they're not getting burnt out. Providing, again, we got EAP services for these individuals to make sure that if the stress is getting too much for them. We're trying to find ways to help in doing these different things without adding more personnel. There's more to it than just adding more people, and so that's the mindset that going into this budget process. But to your question, CARES Act funding can be used for that. I'm sorry, that's your question.
In fact, Mr. Monroe, if you'll check my record, I started with Anson County DSS as a contract employee, working on the old welfare to work program, because the caseloads were continuing to increase and they needed some additional help, and I was on a 6-month contract. And just so happened a full-time position opened, and I said yes. So I would like you to discuss it with Ms. Jackson to see if it would make any sense to pursue this further, because, you know, it's a lot of money that we have, and we have to spend it, it's my understanding, by December 30th. Otherwise, we send it back. And with all the needs that we have in Anson County, certainly, we can find home for these funds.
If it could be used for that, I mean, cause I know we got to make sure we use this money the way it's supposed to, because if we don't, we're gonna have to pay it back. And we're not in a position to pay money back.
Correct.
But like you said, if you were to check with Ms. Jackson, you know, and maybe report back to us, if y'all could see, you know, and make sure we can prove that it is part of the COVID.
Okay. I've not talked to Ms. Jackson about this, to your question, Ms. Sturdivant, but Commissioner Streeter, we can do that.
No, that wasn't my
Oh,
question. My
sorry.
question was, have you guys discussed how you wanted to use that money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
One point of, to answer Commissioner Gatewood, I didn't think about this because, but anyway, pulled up our position allocation. The 31,558 is the right entry level number. However, it does move to 33,137, which should be a 5% spread after 6 months. So the reimbursement percentage would grow. I mean, the percentage is the same. We get more money back, but it is a slightly different number. 31,558, to answer your question, is the right number. After 6 months, it would be 33,137.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Sturdivant, to your question about whether or not we've already asked or decided what we're gonna do with that plan is ever evolving. So what I sent to you earlier was kind of just something to put out there so we can get the money coming in, show that we're working on some things. Over the last couple of days, we've refined that. And looking at what we have in the budget document and what we put out there, we thought a good opportunity would be to use some of those dollars. So for instance, the Viper system that we have in personnel for radios for our EMTs and our law enforcement folk, the state government right now has just used their CARES dollars to authorize $19 million for the Viper system. So if they've already put that precedent out there to use CARES funds for that, I said, that's a good idea. We'll use our CARES funds to get radios for our people to do that. So that is about $280,000 right there. That comes off that 247. Then we also have IT. Again, IT is a big thing. Being away from home, or being away from work or whatever, and working from home is going to be the semi-new normal. And making sure that everyone has access. And here and away, we're looking at that. And we have $150,000 in IT upgrades that we're looking at for next year that we want to use for CARES funding because they've already put that precedent out there. We have $12,500 for a copay to go down to health department for our employees. That automatically makes sense to use there. So those big ones popping off in my head, it comes up to be about $447,000. Then that leaves $200,000 of what we can find to use. But as of right now, it's ongoing. We're thinking about these different things, and this could be a contract employee can be one of those things that we look at. But we're finding ways to, and before we move forward with it, we'll let you know what the plan is. And so about $447,000, I would say, can be identified and tied up into things that are directly related to COVID-19.
Ms. Monroe, those are some excellent points, and I know you have some additional work to do in the allocation of these funds, but I would encourage us to go out to the municipalities. I know that the town of Waysboro has incurred some direct expenses associated with COVID-19, and maybe some of the other municipalities have, but I really would like for us to reach out to those municipalities to see if they have specific needs related to COVID-19 that we need to consider.
I mean, and how, with what he just said, and the way you just explained the funds, those will be helping the town.
Any service that we invest in, because the county helps all citizens and everyone who lives in municipalities, if we're helping with EMT and radio operability, when a phone call is made and we have to respond, they will be receiving increased service. For IT support, we will be doing it internally at least, and some of the things that we can provide to local municipalities will take place there. The reason why we've not focused on looking at municipalities, quite honestly, is because we, as a county, provide services to all citizens in all places throughout this entire event. Everyone from AXE drivers, driving people who live in Polkton and Waysboro to places in Union County and vice versa, coming back and forth. Emergency services working the whole time. Public health works the entire time. DSS works the entire county. And that's where I think the preponderance of the funds need to go to the county, not because it's our money, but because our services cover so many people in the county, be they seniors, be they young folk, all the time. So that's where the preponderance has been on the focus.
I understand that fully, but my only encouragement is to reach out to municipalities to see if they have specific expenses relative to PPEs, sanitation, overtime, whatever, that are directly tied to the virus, to see if there's a way we can assist through these funds. And maybe I'm the only one that feels that way.
Well, I would have to say, like Ms. Murray said, the people, so, and you know, once what I do, there was a bunch of social service workers working from home that had to have certain equipment to work from there. And I'm sure some wasn't able to because we wasn't equipped to allow them to work from home. But with this money, we can make it, you know, make it where they can work from home, cause this virus probably coming back. I don't think it's gone. Well, I know it's not gone. And the fall of the year is coming. We don't know what's gonna happen when it starts getting cold again.
The one other concern in regards to municipalities is that then the county is on the hook for developing a tracking mechanism. I mean, there's some different ways you could do it. You can do it by them going out to buy things and then we reimburse them if it views right, or have them apply in a grant function. But we become and we don't have, to be quite honest, we don't have the bandwidth. We have a lot of other projects going on to take on the granting agency function of these dollars for other groups, be it municipalities or the school system or anyone else. That would be an extra consideration that I don't know how much staff has bandwidth to do. We have a lot of things that need to get done over the next 6 months.
Or if they misuse it, we'll have to pay it back.
Correct. We're responsible, completely responsible. It's not their dollars, it's our dollars. And the state will keep an eye on them.
Also, I'm thinking in my readings on the CARES Act funding, somewhere along the line, I think this subject came up with other counties as well, is that the municipalities have access to the CARES funds that the state has. If they have a need or there's something they need to do, they can go to the state to get CARES Act funding, I believe. I don't know. I think I read that somewhere. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Y'all answer that, Mr. Monroe or Mr. Garner.
Well, we're looking for something right now.
We just talked about this yesterday, and to your point, I thought I had come across a part here. Now it breaks out, summer programs, food banks, hospitals, stuff like that, but I swear I saw something for local governments, and it's not part of what's been out there yet. But I'm not on the right, it's not on this thing, but it is that format like that. we can get back with
All right.
you about that.
Thank
But-
you.
But there's, this came out so quick.
Sure.
And it's different because, you know, everything that we do, we spend our money first and then we have to go chase it down. That's the whole problem with FEMA. We got a check, you know, they just send a check, and then they do a formula, and they send a check, because they want people to have that money. It's just like the checks they sent to us personally. They want that money in the economy. So, and they want it spent kind of quick, in 6 months. The funny thing is, you did pick up on, it's a 12/30 deadline, and I don't know why that's an arbitrary 12/30, because it's not the last day of the month, last day of the year, or whatever, but it is a 12/30 deadline. But
Sure.
we will get back to you on that, because I think in our discussion yesterday, that I came across this somewhere, but I can't find it right now.
Very good. Well, those are my questions.
We just received some money, working with Food Bank and more, and we just received some additional money. And I don't know, where did that money come from? Was that the CARES Act?
It very could be. There's, nutritionists, food banks, $6 million of food banks have come from, the state has given $6 million worth of food bank dollars. from the CARES Act.
We did receive some Food Bank money.
Yeah, they've made an allocation of $6 million to
Okay.
all across the state.
Mr. Chairman, those are my questions.
Okay, Ms. Studley? You good? Mr. Woodburn?
The only thing I have in addition to what we've already talked about, like I said, I understand the, situation we're in. I think the county manager staff's done an excellent job with the budget. I would like to know, the teacher supplement money. At whatever point in time we can get back to the way it was, we need to do that. And, the other side of, is also education, is the, reduced funding for Anson County schools and the community college. Like I said, I understand the reason we have to do it, because it's a tough decision had to be made, so I don't have a problem with it now, but I'd like to see that return to the original status at whatever point in time we can do that.
Okay, the only thing I have, I wanna thank staff and Mr. Monroe and the staff for the job you have done with the budget. These things in there I wish we could have done. I wish we could have given our employees a raise.
Absolutely.
I wish we could have gave the school what they needed, but time of like though, I thank you for the job that y'all have done with the budget.
Great job.
Thank you, it's been challenging,
Yes, I know.
a lot of uncertainty.
I mean, there's cuts in here that, you know, I didn't like, but
Exactly.
I don't wanna raise taxes either.
Exactly. It's not the time to raise taxes.
No,
no
it's
question
not.
about that. Just one small question, if I may, Chairman Street, and that is on page 1, there's a land acquisition in 2018-2019 for $49,987.74. What is that for?
You're in the 114110 budget and the governing body budget?
Yes.
That was, when, we acquired property at the airport.
Airport, yes.
All right, very good.
And we got grant money for that, didn't we?
On that one, we did not.
We did not, okay.
It, in the future, if we were to have a potential like that, then we've talked to aviation and we have the opportunity to submit it. They really would only look or consider contiguous property. Part of it was in the track, which is across the street. So at best, all of it wouldn't have been possibly eligible if they had the money, but in this case, we weren't able to. We have countered on that and done some projects where they've stepped up and done 100% versus the 90-10. So it's kind of worked itself out since then.
And right below there, there's an outside agency funding request for $10,000. Which agency made that request?
That was TDA, the TDA, and that was in regard to signage at one point. That was the cleaning of the.
It was actually a rebranding
Rebranding.
project that they did, that we actually that was the first half of the request.
All right.
And, we funded the first half and in the second half.
Excellent, thank you.
I've been wondering about that fence they put around the airport, how much did the county have to pay for that?
Nothing.
Nothing.
That is coming straight from the Department of Aviation underneath the DOT. And they are, I guess they're on phase 2 right now, and they started in, what, January? Oh man, when did that start? It's a 6-month build out time. It should be coming to conclusion here in a very short amount of time. But we haven't had paid anything, sir.
That, Commissioner Sykes, that's an example of what I was talking about, where we didn't get them to participate on that property purchase, but instead of that project being a 90-10, it was 100-0. They funded it 100% and they justified it because of safety. And quite honestly, between us, it's not like, national safety, it's like wildlife.
Keep the air off the road.
But I mean, still, safety of pilots, there's a lighting project that they're doing as well, they were able to include it the same way. So again, our investment is 0. Really, it's kind of good that they didn't get participate in that property because we've gotten a lot more doing the 0% match on these other
Well,
projects.
we paid for it, but not through the county.
That's correct,
Right.
that's correct.
The Christmas luncheon, it look like it's still in here.
No, that, we put in there, yeah, you can pull that up.
I think it was $18,000.
It was 20,000 before, I think it's down to 16,000, is that correct?
Double check that, Mr. Monroe, I think it was 18,000, I could be.
But I thought we were gonna have the luncheon and give them the money.
Well, that's the thing, the
No.
luncheon costs the luncheon itself is $6,000, the cards and everything else is $10,000. We left in there, where are we at?
Like 18 here.
Oh, it's over, okay. Okay, we'll, again, the board, feel free, if you want to see that reduced to what amount, because we can make adjustments there. We have put it, that was oversight, I thought we had knocked it down to 16, but it's 18. But I knew that there was not an intention to not do something for employees. So, instead of a luncheon, I thought that was gonna be opportunity for,
Just give them.
that's why I thought that, cause I thought that was the conversation, no luncheon because of the sickness, but
Right, no
you want to do something for them.
Yeah.
And
just
so-
give them the cards.
Give them
Is
the
that
card.
not-
How many employees do we have, Mr. Monroe?
251, 52.
Okay.
Counting part-time, we have about 70, what we consider round the year full, part-times. Not, like the kids that just work at the pool. just for the
Certainly.
summer. But the kids that might work in athletic programs, for the most part around the year. So about 70 like that, plus about 250,
So what would it cost the county if we gave every employee, full and part-time, a $25 gift card?
And cut the luncheon all the way out.
Yes, what would that cost?
But not no $25, we could do a little better than that.
You could probably double that and get the 18,000 squared away.
Well, we may not need to spend the whole $18,000, Mrs.
Yeah.
Monroe, in current
No.
economic climate.
No, you don't have to, no.
I would say $25, as a token of our appreciation at Christmas time. I think that would be, plenty sufficient in current
Okay.
economic climate.
9375.
Ms. Cameron, how much was the card you gave them last year?
$50.
Yeah, I wanna go down.
Well, 18,000 would cover it, yeah.
That's, yes.
But the cards though, two years, last Christmas and the Christmas prior, the cards were not for everyone. The cards were only for people that didn't qualify for longevity. That's why there was a higher amount, Mr. Urban.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's why,
Okay.
Ms. Cannon was able to get the cards
Okay.
and the luncheon in for that number. That's why
Okay.
the math's not adding up now, because I'm not sure how many people qualified, and I'll be honest with you, I did not come up with that policy, but I was a person that benefited from it. Or I was one of a number of
Okay.
people. But we did what we consider our round the year full-time, our permanent part-time rather, and our full-time that didn't qualify for longevity. We did 50. But our regular employees just got their longevity,
inclined to give everyone a $25 gift card and, let that do it.
The money that each commissioner spends it's not used.
It is other agency funding requests at $2,450.
It's 4110, 4906. It's the next to last expense in the government department.
How did that get started?
But this-
The giving out the money,
Let's take that out.
That was done before, how did it get started?
I don't know.
It was
It
when
preceded me.
That was when we
okay.
cut out, giving to United Way and giving to Art Cancer. That's, well, just give each commissioner money, let him use it. But let's just.
Well, I would be opposed to cutting that out, because of the contribution that I've made, to Burnsville Learning Center. They really appreciate it. Feed My Lambs.
Always gave money
And-
to the food bank.
Innocent Crisis Ministry. I think we need some discretionary funds for situations like that, so I would be opposed to taking it out. It's not that much.
Well, just from a new person, relative, I guess I'm not new any longer. But one of the things that I saw as far as giving out dollars to nonprofit organizations from the county, I thought that was maybe potentially problematic, because there's not a process in which those people are requesting funds. You're talking about taxpayer dollars, that's $24.50, although a small amount, I agree, it's still taxpayer dollars that have, some accountability tied to them. And so, when I first came here, I thought, okay, if you're gonna give that, then it probably should be itemized out, there should be a grant request or something to standardize it. But I understand how Anson County has operated for quite some time, so.
Let's take it out.
We can take it out, cause we still gonna give.
We can give it out of our
We can give it out our pocket.
And if we wanna revisit it in future time, we can put together a program.
Yeah, it need to be, they need to.
The
Cause we can still.
Tourism Development Authority uses a form of what you were talking
Yes.
about, and you've probably seen those, where they, all year long, folks can request, funds that would be promoting tourism, or hotel stays, or the economy, or things like that. So they have a pretty good one-page form that is very encompassing, if we get back to that.
If we give it to them, they need to tell us why they're getting it and all of that, because, like I say, these are taxpayers' dollars.
Just the one thing I would caution, I'm just gonna play the devil's advocate here, I don't have a problem with what's been said, but I think if I'm understanding it right, what I'm hearing is, we wanna put something in place and basically open it up for any nonprofit to make a request, and we will get overrun, and then we'll get in a situation where.
No, I'm not recommending that at all right now.
Oh, okay,
No,
okay, I said,
But-
I heard wrong then, okay.
No,
We just like we used to
no,
all
we
the
just
budget
gotta take it
requests,
out.
we
Am I
used to
correct?
get.
That's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
we get overrun, and then,
Oh, no,
No.
we don't have the capacity to.
Yeah, we just
Okay.
gotta take it out.
we're on the same page then,
Let's
okay.
just take it out.
We'll just take it all the way out and pay out our pockets.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Is anything else any commissioner has?
The only other thing I'd add is just along the line of what, Mr. Monroe was saying, I think he's probably working in that direction, but, and it falls under the things we wanna see as far as efficiency is concerned is, rather than adding people, I think look at our processes and what we have in place, and through training and changing our processes, and, I think you can get more efficient with less people. And I think that needs to be something that we task him to move forward with, and I've seen those types of things in place, and actually, you can get help from like North Carolina State University, for example, and this was in manufacturing, but the same principle applied, we changed our processes totally, and of course, we made an agreement up front that, because we needed help from our people, needed input from our people, since they were more familiar with what was happening and how to do it, that nobody would lose their job because of, changing processes and getting more efficiency. We would take care of that through attrition. When somebody left, for whatever reason, then we just wouldn't fill that position. So I think that's right on as far as, you know, getting more efficient and getting more done with, in the best way possible. I'm gonna say with less people, but, you know, anytime you start thinking about workload and you gotta have more people to get it done, sometimes you can just change the way you're doing things and not have to have extra heads. But I just put that out there.
This is God.
Only one other point. Last Christmas, I received a nice Christmas card with a gift card in it from the chairman. And I would recommend, for me personally, that you not do that. Those are taxpayer dollars, and I would not want you to do that.
That's coming out of all that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
You didn't do it, Miss Cannon did.
Well, somebody did it, okay?
Got no cards and nothing. Denise, you sitting over there, you know you
Must
were
have gave
running
you
around and
kind
did
of
all of that.
God.
Yeah.
Don't, it was good, yes.
I just reached into it, that's all.
I'll still be happy to get one.
Okay.
Okay. Again, thank you for the job you have done with the budget.
Yeah.
Staff, you and
Great
staff.
job.
Miss Cannon, when do we meet again? Give us some dates.
June 16th at 6 p.m. We'll be having a public hearing.
16/6.
June 16th, 6 p.m.
And how would that be handled if someone wants to come up here? How many can come up here?
We're not gonna increase the capacity of the room. We're gonna do 6 feet, so we're talking about, how many chairs is this, about 20, maybe?
It won't be no more than that.
No more than this.
Okay, and if I want to hear anyone that come, but as they speak, can we ask them to leave and someone else downstairs wanna come up, let them come up?
Yes, we can do that if it's.
Let's do it that way.
Okay.
Just as, well, I tell them the 20 that's here, after we hear your request, we ask that you leave and let someone else come up that may need to come up and talk also.
And, it'll be the presentation of the budget with any change that we've made today in regards to what you requested. So I'll present it as I recommended it to you, and then then I highlight the changes that we made from this conversation. And just, if the public has any more input, that they wanna have some, critique or whatnot, and then we adopt on the 30th.
Is there any way Chris can set up a speaker outside in case there are someone outside when you present the budget? They can hear it also.
Outside or downstairs?
Well, it has to be outside because you can't have them so many spaces inside the building.
I don't think you have enough space. I wouldn't encourage that,
You wouldn't,
Mr. Chairman.
They won't hear the request of the budget, yes.
If someone has, comments, we can invite them to come in. Still make
But when he
it.
presents the budget, they won't hear it.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well,
He gonna
the
present
budget's
it?
available, there's a copy at the library.
Okay.
And I know a citizen called me about one thing that was in here and, said I would ask about it, and that was
Okay,
the
well,
land purchase.
the 20 that's here, they're here,
Also
then
online.
that's fine.
Yeah, it's also online.
Fine, okay, that's good.
And I guess, I don't know, just thinking about this, if someone happens to email us questions in regards to the budget, because now that we are doing limited face-to-face, we'll have to answer that, I guess we can have.
Have that available also.
Have to have that available, and I guess we can have the, county attorney read those out loud.
Right, we can have all that.
If someone made a comment online, so.
What time you said, 6?
It's June 16th at 6 p.m.
More than likely, I will not be able to make that one.
Okay.
Good meeting.
Meeting, right, thank everyone for coming. We have a motion to recess to June the 16th at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds by Commissioner Stutter and Commissioner Woodburn. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Great meeting, good meeting.
Thank you very much.
My wedding anniversary is on the 16th.
Oh. I know why you won't be
52
Oh, wow.
as of that day.